Hello all, my name is Jo Palmer and I am the founder and managing director of Pointer Remote. We are a company that is passionate about supporting businesses and individuals from all over Australia, particularly rural areas, to leverage remote work. We support businesses to grow their teams and individuals to re-enter the workforce or upskill in remote. We also work with communities themselves to support them to attract and retain populations and to increase economic development in their area. Today, I am joined by Duncan from 6'5", who is based in my hometown of Jindabyne, and he is my go-to tech guy. And I'm very excited to talk to you today because it's always really good to shine a light on not all tech guys wear black t-shirts and hang out in basements, generalizing whatsoever.
I don't drink coffee or Red Bull either.
Yeah. Well, do you want to do a bit of an intro to what you do, where you are, all the things, and then we are going to talk about all things sort of tech when it comes to either working or managing people remotely.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. And thanks for having me today as well. It's good to get on and have a chat about some stuff. So 6'5" is my company. It's called 6'5" because I am 6'5". You can't see it obviously when I'm sitting down. And our goal or our business is to partner with businesses to deliver online solutions that generate income through fit for purpose technology. And also to give you guys confidence in the technology that you have in your business so that you can concentrate on running your business and getting stuff done, making more sales, making more money. So we specialize in two areas and it's all online. So one is WordPress websites. So we design, build, care for, and help you promote your WordPress website. And the second one is Google Workspace, which is all about a platform where you can host your business email. You can use Google Meet for online meetings and have cloud storage. And it's a collaborative and productivity platform. Okay, so it's an alternative to Microsoft and Office 365. So those are the two things that we do. We also run a completely remote team. As Jo said, I'm based in Jindabyne in the Snowy Mountains, and the rest of my team are spread all over the place, indeed, in different countries as well. So plenty of experience in managing stuff over time zones and in different locations.
Awesome. Well, there's lots of things that I want to talk to you about because you know lots of stuff and you do lots of things that we like dealing with, which is always exciting. So the first thing that I wanted to talk about is that we deal with obviously a lot of people that are working remotely or that are managing people that are working either fully remotely or in a hybrid model, which we're seeing obviously a lot more in the last 12 months that people are sort of entering this world of having people not working in the office. I guess the first thing I wanted to talk about was some of the challenges that that we both of our businesses hear from, say, businesses to start with that are transitioning into maybe offering more flexibility, or they've had people working remotely from a co-working space or from home in a sort of all over the shop manner in the last 12 months. And people are now starting to look at, okay, what does this look like moving forward, and how can we cherry pick the things that were great and leave behind the things that were not so great for our organisation. I really want to talk about, what do you see as some of the challenges or the issues that small businesses or businesses of any size can come up against when they're doing this, when they haven't sort of put some structures and systems and processes in place around it? Like, what are some of the risky areas or the challenges that you see that businesses are facing?
Yeah, so I think the two big words that come up a lot when you start talking about moving people out of your line of sight, as it were, especially as a manager, is trust and accountability. There's a big trust issue in terms of, are you actually working? Are you doing what we're asking you to do? And are you getting it done, right? And being able to track and enforce that accountability about what that work is and what that deliverable is a big part of that, to give you as a manager or as a business owner some peace of mind that, you know, your team is actually delivering, they are doing what you say, right? Now, of course, one of the things that happens when people start to work from home is the dog starts barking or the laundry finishes. So you kind of jump up and you know, go and deal with some other things as well. So one of the things that we've implemented in our team is making sure that your deliverables are very well defined. So we know exactly what is expected of you on a particular day. So a project management system is really important when you're looking at those kind of things. And then the second one is the ability to make sure that it's okay to communicate that you'll be a bit late to start, right? I mean, that 9 to 5 has to have some flexibility into it. So whilst we have an expectation of, I know that roughly certain members of my team start and finish at roughly these hours during a day, I also know that stuff happens. And so certainly where we've got team members, for example, in the Philippines, you know, infrastructure is not as great as it would be in Australia. So I know that they have weather events and they have typhoons and they go offline. They can go offline completely for 24 hours, maybe even like 3 days, with no communication at all. So you have to also not panic about the fact that you can't see someone and you can't talk to them. But, you know, implementing, like I say, a project management system, but also having a chat tool, Slack, or in Google Workspace land, it's Google Chat. So going all the way back again to that trust and accountability thing, make sure you've got some processes in place where people can reach out and talk. It's not stigmatized that they say, you know, I'm you know, taking the kids to school, or I'm got to do the washing or something like that. There needs to be a bit of flexibility in what used to be a 9 till 5. I expect you to be in the door at 9. I expect you to leave at 5. Just doesn't quite work.
I just wanted to pull back on there when you were saying that it's really important to have a project management tool. Do you have any suggestions or examples of tools? I know that everyone's got their favorites. What are ones that you guys use or that you find are really easy to implement, especially for people that haven't had a huge amount of tech experience as well?
Yeah, so your phrase there of everyone has their favorite, I think that's really important. So this project management tools and CRMs, people often ask me that question, go, what would you recommend? I'm like, you've got to go try them and see what works for you, right? Because you and your process is unique, your business is unique, and then the other tools that you have are unique as well, right? So you've got to find something that fits into your process. So personally, we've been through Jira, Basecamp, Trello. We had a look at Monday.com, and almost everything now we do is on Asana. And we have a very specific way that we actually set up and use Asana. It kind of has some Trello aspects to it. It kind of has some Basecamp aspects to it. But we set up each project in a very specific manner where we can manage status of tasks. And there's also education for your staff, and if you're going to bring your clients into that project management tool too, there's education about the procedure, about how you manage those tasks, because again, it can come down to accountability. Like, you assign the task to someone, well, that means that they're the person that's responsible for doing whatever is next on that task. You've got to make sure that tasks are immutable, which means that it's one piece of work. It is a deliverable on its own. It might be part of a larger project, which means you have lots of tasks. So you've got to kind of take that stuff into account in terms of what you're delivering, how your business works, and you've got to go try some. You're going to lose some data because you're going to you try one, not like it. You're going to try another one and use that, and that's a bit better. So yeah, no real recommendations. Go try it. Suck it up.
You sound like us, and I think my team was like going to stick a fork in their eye if Joe rolled out yet another platform that we were going to try. I think we've pretty much crossed over with pretty much the same list as you. I think Do you think that there is any way that you can test drive without disrupting how you do everything and without driving everyone crazy? Like, is it something that the manager or the business owner can sort of squirrel away on the sidelines?
You've got to involve a few people, right? So, I mean, the way that we've done it is we've kind of kept the bulk of our process for 90% of what we do. And we've gone, right, we're going to try this project on this tool. And we did that several times until we kind of settled on Asana. And then, of course, within Asana, we've then molded that some more as well. But you've got to involve a couple of people in your team so that everybody gets to have a bit of a say in what they like and what they don't like. But ultimately, it comes down to, can you get some accountability at it? Is it, are you getting visibility so you can see what's going on and where things are at? And does it help you deliver, right? Does it help you actually get stuff out the door and ship product and keep customers happy? That's what it comes down to.
Yeah, interesting. Now, I know that you talked about trust and accountability being like the key sort of areas to sort of be considering. What about some of the practical things? So we're obviously talking about like your project management and how you're communicating with people, whether it's within that tool itself or a tool like Slack or Google Chat or whatever else that you're using. It might even just be a WhatsApp group.
Yep.
What about some of the more practical things around like security? I think that's such a big thing that people they might panic about it initially, but then it sort of falls by the wayside and they don't think about it again. And so when they start offering up more flexibility for their team to be working again from a co-working space or from home or wherever it is that they're working, what are some of the considerations that you sort of talk to your clients about as far as security on platforms that you're using, on the websites themselves, those sorts of things?
Yep. So I mean, let's focus on employees and your team. So the insecurity terms, every remote worker is what's termed a zero trust environment. Okay. It's very likely that you as an employer didn't give them their device or their devices that they're using, and they use them for personal, all right, bless you. They use them for personal tasks as well as work as well, right? And therefore, there's every opportunity that the kids might pick something up and send an email to one of your clients, or end up on a website that downloads a virus onto the computer, or whatever it might be. So, taking some practical steps to make sure that any device that is being used for work, you're making use of as many of the security aspects of those tools as you can. All right. So the first one is always get some antivirus on your computer. The second one is make sure that whatever accounts you're using on different tools online, decent passwords, which means length is really important. So 12 characters or more, mixture of letters, numbers, and symbols, and uppercase and lowercase, but also having second factor authentication. So that means once you log in and you type your password in, it tells you that you've got to enter another code. And that code comes off of your mobile phone. So you can use an app to do that, Google Authenticator or Authy, both kind of industry standard, do the same thing. Or obviously you can do it where it sends you an SMS as well. And there's been some stuff in the press recently that has been quite eye-opening that says, well, it's quite easy to actually hijack someone's phone number and get the SMSs from them. So our current stance is make sure, it's difficult in Australia, it's harder. It's very easy in the US. Use Authy or Google Authenticator on your phone and get your employees to do it, and make sure that they are implementing two-factor authentication. Don't share passwords, all right? So wherever you've got, again, it comes down to that accountability, right? If you're sharing a password and someone does something and you go and look at the audit trail or whatever it is, you have no idea who did it. So make sure that you're adding an account for each user, and that way you get a bit more, you get the accountability, you get more control over it. So two-factor authentication is really, really important. Secure passwords, really important. Antivirus. And then the other thing we get asked about quite a bit is, do we need to have a VPN, right? Do our remote workers who are in a co-working space need to have a VPN? And that's
Can you explain what a VPN is for those less
Yes.
educated?
So VPN stands for Virtual Private Network. And there's a lot of press and a lot of information out there that says you must use one, you must use one. Very commonly in the consumer land, they're used for making you appear on the internet like you're over in the US, so you can watch Netflix in the US, okay? So essentially all it does is it creates a host pipe from your computer all the way to wherever that VPN comes out, all right? And that could be in a different country. It could be within a corporate network in a decent sized company. But for us in small business land, that generally isn't the case, right? You don't have your own servers in a data center. So a VPN kind of doesn't do a huge amount in that sense. Where a VPN is very important for people like us that are remote working, we're changing locations, is where perhaps you're in a cafe or you're in an airport, you're on a network, you're connecting to you're connecting to Wi-Fi that you don't know is essentially untrusted, okay? And what a VPN will do is it will make sure that when you connect to it, it'll put a hose pipe through that comes out onto the internet somewhere, and actually it doesn't matter where, and it will stop people snooping on your traffic in the cafe. All right. So you genuinely can take a phone and a laptop, sit down in a cafe. You can make it look like you are actually the access point, and you can funnel all of the traffic onto your computer and then push it back out. And the person who's connecting to the Wi-Fi won't know. So free Wi-Fi can be a little bit risky. We connect to services that are in the cloud or on the internet. Okay, so things like Asana and Google Workspace. There is no endpoint that the VPN should go to. What it's about is just saying that I'm connecting to some Wi-Fi, which gets me to the internet, and I want to just secure that channel as best I can, so no one else is snooping on that information and pulling it out without me knowing about it.
Mm.
That makes sense?
Like this, yeah, it does. And I always feel like this is like big brother land that we fall into.
It is. There's a bit of tinfoil hat there, potentially. But the other thing, there's information that you are creating in your business, right? It's your IP, and it's very, very important. And without it, by and large, your business won't exist. Okay. Now, lots of things are, not terribly unique in the world, but the way you do things and the way that you service your customers is unique to you, and it's important to your business. So you've got to do what you can to protect that in order to protect your value, which in turn obviously protects your revenue. And so I think some of these things are just sensible to do. People, through whatever reason, might decide that they want to target you specifically, or it might be opportunistic and they just find a way and they pull something out. And the same goes for educating your staff about spam and emails that might come in that look legitimate. We had a client the other week that forwarded me on an email from MailChimp, right? The email marketing platform. And it said, your credit card details are out of date. We need this for your next billing. And something in the head went, hang on a sec, I'm sure we just paid the invoice for that last week. Why am I getting this email now? And so she forwarded it to me. We had a look at it, and it was brilliant. I mean, everything about it was perfect. And if she hadn't have had that little niggling feeling, she probably would have clicked the link, and then who knows what happens beyond that. So that kind of awareness that your website and your email is just constantly being bombarded with someone trying to get some sort of information out of you. And whilst we're on this, have a look at your social media profile, open an incognito window, go and have a look at your Facebook profile or your Instagram or whatever it is, and see what information is there about you. All of that stuff, whilst it seems insignificant on its own, if they send you an email and they get something out of you, they look at your Facebook profile and they find out where you live, that information gets built up into social engineering, allows them to target you better, allows them to learn about what you do, what you like, and allows them to put something in front of you that you'll go, oh yeah, I do that all the time. And it might be, the local football club or the RSL down the road. It might get branded and look perfect, and you might be like, cool, I trust that brand, I'll click on it, and off you go. So all of these little kind of building blocks go into just having awareness of the fact that there's lots of people out there trying to do lots of some pretty bad things. And even if it's not stealing your identity or stealing your business IP, what it probably also will do is it will break your computer for a while and you won't be able to work. And that's just going to be downright inconvenient. So do a little bit of work to protect yourself.
Oh man, I need to get me my new tinfoil hat now.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. And so, extending that, your website as well, your business website, you've got to make sure you keep it up to date. If, for example, it's on WordPress or a platform like that, because it's so easy if you don't for someone to, and all they do is they stick a scanner out into the world, they find all the WordPress websites and they go, oh, bang, there's one that's a little bit out of date. I can get access to it and I can deface it, or I can add some content to it. And likely you won't even notice for days, weeks, or months. So
do you mean updating it by just making sure that you are being active in updating content? Like I remember someone said years ago to me that, like, even for your Google rankings and things, a website that if you log in once a week, delete a full stop, publish it, to get back in there and put the stop back in there, that it actually looks like it's being used. Is that the sort of thing that you mean about being sort of active with the website?
Okay, so there's, I mean, given we've just been kind of coming from the security aspect, right, and business continuity, you've got to make sure that you're hosting your website with someone reputable, right, who's doing backups on it. And if you're on a platform like WordPress, it has security updates, plugins, themes. WordPress itself gets updated. So because the software is open source, that means that anybody in the world can go and investigate how that software is written. And they can sit there, it sounds really sad, but they will sit there and read lines of code and they will figure out where there's a hole. And then they'll write a different bit of code that targets that hole to get into it, okay? And that allows them to deface it. So that might be, like I say, injecting some content. It might be changing the page. It might be taking the site down completely. It might be putting something nefarious on it that then downloads onto the next visitor's computer, right? They could be trying to steal credit card numbers out of an e-commerce site, all those kind of things. So when I'm talking about updating it, I'm talking about making sure that your plugins, your theme, and your security positioning is such that you're doing everything you can to stop those people getting in, and just monthly going in there, clicking the update button. It's the same on your computer. It's the same on your phone, right? Android and iOS both will give you reminders and they'll say, look, there's an update. You should be installing those. Because if you don't, you are potentially leaving your phone in the past, and that in turn is giving hackers and those with opportunity. It's providing opportunity to those people. Just to touch on content with regards to Google, yes, absolutely. Try and make some updates to your site once a month, right? Add a blog post or an article, or change some content that shows Google that you're actually doing something on there. And their goal is to find content that is fresh and relevant to their users, right? That's what makes Google really useful. So if you can show them that you are meeting that goal as well, then they'll help reward you.
Interesting. Now, I want to digress slightly on and go back to the fact that you run not only a fully remote team from Australia, but you've got employees across the world. Of course, you have the added drama of like time zones and different languages and other challenges that, like, I think that what we're finding, a lot of businesses are starting to look at this as well. A lot of businesses you hear that are actually offshoring work and these different bits and pieces. What are some of the things that you do to sort of encourage company culture or connectedness between your teams? Or is it you find that your team sort of spends a fair bit of time in their own silos doing their things with their blinkers on? Are you conscious of your team interacting together?
Um, yes, it's a challenge when you're dealing with time zones, different geographies, different languages, and so forth. The one common thing we all have is that we can all read and converse well in written English, right? So in our case, Slack, outgoing, Google Chat, more coming in. That chat aspect is really important. We avoid WhatsApp because it's really hard to type substantial amounts of stuff on your phone. So that's why we use Slack, because you can do it on a phone, but you can also do it on your computer, okay? And obviously you can share screenshots and do other stuff. So it works better. In terms of everybody works together, and that's fine. Certain people will receive requests and maybe they'll need help from each other and so forth. We don't have like a Friday afternoon kind of all hands get up or anything like that, because for some people it's Friday morning, for some people it's the end of Friday, some people it's the middle of the night. So it doesn't quite work out. So we don't have a sort of a company culture, if you like, that breaks down the barriers of saying, well, this is not just a work engagement. So we are very much about the deliverable, making sure that everybody's on the same page with regards to how we communicate with clients, and what the level of service is that's required. Everyone has some awareness about where everybody is located, and chat breaks down those barriers to a point, because we might all record a video that is, this is how I've done that, and create a procedure out of it, right? So everybody kind of sees each other. For those that are not really good with the verbal English, we generally don't see that stuff so much, right? And that's natural. You're going to be quite shy about trying to say something, especially when the level of competency is pretty good. I mean, I'm a native English speaker. You might not know that. So for those that aren't, it can be kind of embarrassing and quite daunting to want to do that. And that's fine. We don't make them do it, right? There's other ways to document process or procedure and say, look, this is how I've done that. So an awful lot of what we do is just written. It's in chat or it's in tickets in Asana. We try and stay away from email as much as possible. And yeah, like I say, a combination of video, people know each other to that degree. There's not a lot of chat about, what did you do on the weekend? But we do sign in. We say, hi, I'm here, and we'll get on with stuff. So I think we're a little bit different to what you might have in the office. There's not really that much water cooler chat. We don't really kind of do, social gatherings as such. And we're not big enough yet to fly everybody to the Maldives for a week and have a lot of fun. So one day.
Don't we all dream of that day when we can?
That's right.
With our teams. That's so funny because that's literally on my bucket list as well. I'm like, oh, when we're flying high, we can all go and hang out in somewhere delicious and tropical. I wanted to just touch in on something that you talked about there, because it's something that I don't know where I sort of picked it up initially, but it's been something that's been really helpful with our team, is that concept of creating systems and processes around things that you do in your organization and using video and voice recording and written instructions to do that. Do you want to talk through a little bit how you do that? Because I know a lot of the time people will use like a tool like Loom, which records your screen and your voice. We use another one called Screencastify. There's lots of these ones that do this, but we have actually started we have built a sort of an internal intranet that we then save those videos so that it becomes like a user manual. Do you do something like that? And is that something that you work with people in sort of helping them set up? Because we actually use our Google Sites as our intranet that we use.
Yes, we do. Absolutely. So I think there's a couple of key things that we found that work quite well. Absolutely, you need to centralize all of those. Even it doesn't matter who creates them, but you need to centralize them. So we use I can't remember, I've got two. There's an awesome screenshot, which allows you to do screenshots as well as videos. And I've got another one, which might be Screencastify. It's free. It has a limit of 5 minutes on it, which is really good because you don't want people waffling on, right? Everything should be relatively bite-sized so that you can take a particular aspect, even if it's a multi-step task, you do, 5 1-minute videos. Don't do 1 5-minute video and just waffle on, because you'll find that if you watch it back, you'll be like, well, hang on a minute, this is actually kind of difficult to prove. So our process is this. One, when we kind of start to spot we've got something that you can repeat and is repeatable, generally I will do it 3 or 4 times myself, and I will give someone awareness that this is what I'm up to, because they'll start to see communications will be slightly different to what we had, or something new will appear. So I'll be doing it a few times to make sure that I can repeat the process and that the quality of the deliverable is right and so forth. Once I've got that, I will then go, okay, it's now time for me to not be doing it. I need to train someone else. So I will make some screen recordings of it using one of those tools. We then drop it into Google Sites. So I'll create a page in Google Sites, which will be, for that particular product, or it'll be, a process. So as simple as you'll go to Google Drive, you'll find that there's a video there in an MP4 format. Then you need to go stick it up onto Rev, get subtitles done. Then you need to burn the subtitles into it. Then you need to upload it to YouTube. And then you write the description like this, and then it has to go out onto the blog, right? It's simple steps of things that you need to do. So I will record a video on each of those. So it's absolutely bulletproof that this is where you'll find it. This is how you do it. This is how you log it in Asana on the way through, so that I know exactly what my expectation is. And if I dive into that process at any point, I know that it's being done as I would like to see it done. And that's really important. This cycles all the way back to the trust thing again, right? If you don't set that expectation and the way that you'd like it done and the deliverable, then people will go off and do it in their own manner. And that means that you don't necessarily have control over the outcome. But also, if they do it in their own particular manner, you also don't have any way of saying, hang on a sec, that's not my expectation. That is not how we do things. So there's no way of then kind of using that in your one-on-one or your review process to be able to say, look, you need to lift your game and we need to be doing it here rather than what you did, which was here. So video documenting it, getting it on an intranet, Google Sites in our case, using Google Workspace, is a really good thing to do. It makes a process repeatable, it's documented, and then you can hold people to account for it as well and say, this is actually what you should have done, this is what you did, can you see that there's a problem there, and we need to change that. Obviously you can't be present over all those time zones, so you've got to have essentially a manual of how you run your business.
And I think we found it really useful as well for training and onboarding when someone starts or comes back from leave, and this is how we now do things. But do you just want to give a bit of a really brief overview of what Google Sites is? Because we've just sort of talked about it because both of us use it, but it's like a tool within a tool that I've just found such a useful thing to be able to use. Do you want to give us a quick rundown on what it actually is?
Essentially, it's a website builder. And because in our case, because it's within Google Workspace, once your team have a login, which allows them to do email and get access to Google Drive and stuff, Google Sites is just another one of the little products within it. And it's essentially a what you see is what you get website builder. So you go new page, and then you say, I want some text on the right and an image on the left. You drag that on, you put the image up, you put the text into it. And it's not full blown, like you can't, make things whiz around and do all the things you would on a normal website. It's very kind of blocky and straightforward, but it makes it really useful for procedural things where there's a process, because you just go, we start at the top, here's a video, here's a bit of text that explains it. Here's another video, here's some text that explains it. And then we use just a bit of color coding. So generally I'll go kind of white and gray rows for steps. And then when we have a major point where for example, you have to wait for the client to do something, or we have an email communication, we make that row, I think it's blue in our case, a big blue row. So you know that you can go all the way down to there. And when you hit that blue row, there's something specific that has to happen and you can't proceed beyond that. And then, of course, you can link pages together. You can create a nav for it. So really, we have sections for each product. We have sections for onboarding of clients for each of those products and how that works. We've got a section on how you use Asana, right? So when we onboard a new team member, we say, right, you need to go and watch all of those, because that will teach you how we use Asana, how we're expecting you to be able to do that as well. And it saves probably 2 hours of me sitting on a call with them and showing them how to do it. They just go watch a series of videos and it gets done.
And they can refer back to it as well when
they can refer back to it. Like I say, you can't be there all the time, day in, day out, and you certainly can't be there for all the time zones if you're employing people in the US, for example, or especially the East Coast of the US and the UK. That's, it's really hard.
I think as well, just a thing to note on that is the fact that, yes, while Google Sites is a website, you control completely who can actually access. It's not just sitting out there in cyberspace, that you can give access to people that you want to see the site. I've just found that to be such a useful tool for us. It's been really, really helpful.
Yeah. And it's worth mentioning, I mean, with Google Sites, because it's a product within Google Workspace, as soon as an employee leaves, for example, you turn off their email, their access to Google Drive, anything in Sites, Google Meet, the whole lot just kind of goes in one go. So you've got that security access around it. We have clients that also use Google Sites as training material for their customers. So, you can build a Google site out with your stock standard material, and then you can literally copy it, rename it to a particular client, add some customization to it, and then you can give them access to that one as well. So there's, some other uses for it other than just internal.
And you can have as many of them as you want.
Yeah, absolutely.
There you go. Something I didn't know. There's my new fact learned for the day. Well, look, I'm conscious of time, and like I said, I fall down a rabbit hole of my tinfoil hat wearing rabbit hole whenever I get to catch up with you. But thank you so much for your time. I always find these insights and little tidbits very helpful. So if people are wanting to get in touch, where is the best place for people to track you down?
So you can find me at 65.com.au, and that's sixfive.com.au. And that'll give you a little window into our world and what we do, and you can reach out to us anytime through there.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much for your time, Duncan. Much appreciated.
Thank you. Good to be here.